In this video, we're going to take our first look at equalization, or EQ, and we're going to start with filters. So on this Soul Cries Out session here on the saxophone track, I'm going to go to my inserts. Now, what if you cannot see your inserts? Well, that could be a problem. So if you can't see your inserts and you're in the mix window, you're going to go all the way down to the bottom left-hand corner, and you're going to click the Mix Window View selector and make sure that your inserts are checked off. It doesn't really matter if it's A to E or F to J. Pro Tools gives you up to 10 inserts for each channel, but I just choose A to E because they're the first set. If I hit Command equals, you can see that my inserts are also visible in the edit window, and if I want to show or hide those, I can go here to the Edit Window View selector. Another note on this video is you may hear cats in the background. That's because I'm at home right now. My studio at Fort Hays is undergoing some repairs, and so I have to record at home, and my wife's cats are very loud. You can just safely ignore any cat noises you hear. So in this first insert, Insert A, I'm going to go to Plugin, EQ, EQ3 7 band. And it's going to pop up there. And we're going to go over this plugin in more detail in a later video. But for now, what I want to show you are these first two bands, HPF, high pass filter, and LPF, low pass filter. In order for them to work, you have to bring them in, which is the same as turning them on. And then you have a frequency control for each filter. And you have a Q control. The Q is the steepness of the slope. So right now this is at 6 decibels per octave, which means that as the frequency goes down by an octave, or it gets cut in half, then it will be 6 decibels quieter than the octave above it. I can make that far steeper, 12 decibels, 18, all the way up to 24 decibels per octave, and make a very steep slope. What this will do is give you a more precise filter, but also one that's much more aggressive, and it's like more audible if you use it incorrectly. So let's just look at the high pass filter for right now, and I'm going to put this on an 18 decibels per octave Q. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to the saxophone part here, and I'm going to move that filter up until it starts to impact the sound of the saxophone, which is what we don't want, but I want to see where the limit is. And you can just grab this little colorful dot here and use that. Right there. You can hear a noticeable difference in the saxophone sound between 200 hertz and 300 hertz. If we keep going, it's going to get more and more noticeable. That's pretty much most of the saxophone sound right there. So I'm going to leave it at about 139 hertz here. You can see that right there in the control. And let's take a look at this graph so you can see how to interpret it. So here we have 20 hertz, this first line. That's the limit of human hearing on the low end. And then each one of these lines is 10 hertz more. So it's 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 hertz, all the way up to this line, which is 100. And from here, it goes by hundreds. And you can see that the lines start off kind of far apart and then get closer together. And that happens every time there's a new category. So we have 100 hertz, then 200 hertz, 3, 4, 500 hertz, all the way up to 1,000 hertz, and it goes into 1 kilohertz. That's the same as 1,000 hertz. 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, right? All the way up to 10,000, and then it just sort of leaps up by another 10,000 to 20 kilohertz. 20 kilohertz is the upper range limit of human hearing. And so anytime something is doubled, a number, a frequency is doubled, that's an octave. So, this is not spread evenly then, right? Because from 50 to 100, that's an octave. But from 500 to 1,000, that's also an octave. Spatially on the graph, they look the same. But like number-wise, there's a difference of 500 in here and a difference of 50 here. And that's just the way we sort of, calculate the frequencies in the system that we use. So that's a little bit about the graph. If you look at the y-axis here, there's 0, which means nothing gained and nothing lost from that part of the signal. And then it goes in the negative numbers for cuts, -6, -12, -18. And then for boosts, +6, 12, and 18. Now, +6 and -6, that's a lot. That's like a pretty big difference. That's like double or half the volume level. And then 12 and 18, that's like a whole lot. If you are boosting things up by 12 or 18 decibels, like you probably recorded it wrong, or you're going for some kind of special effect. So that's the graph up there. And let's see what happens if we put the low pass filter in. I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to crank my Q up to 18 decibels per octave, and I'm going to bring that back. You can see this is controlling this frequency knob. Also, another defining feature of filters is that they can only cut. They can't boost. A filter, by its very definition, cuts things out. It filters out, in this case, frequencies. Oh, much duller sound now, right? That brightness of the saxophone is gone. It's being filtered out. And we can see if the plugin is making a difference by hitting the bypass button. And you can see the filters disappear and bypass is lit up in this orangish color. And so we can A/B it by hitting that bypass button. So here's no filters. And then with filters. It's not a huge difference in this track, but it will make a difference later when you start to add compression and limiting and bus compression and everything. All of the little hidden frequencies and elements that were in the track but were like not that audible, they'll start popping out more and more. And the reason you would want to do this is to kind of narrow the focus, narrow the range, and focus your instrument in one particular frequency range so that you can leave space in those frequencies for other instruments to fill in. So down here, there's really nothing for the saxophone to do, but there is room rumble, there's bleed from the other instruments, and so we can cut that out and leave that space open for like the bass guitar and the kick drum and things like that. Up here on this end, we can leave this space open for the cymbals and the overtones, and focus the saxophone in sort of this middle territory where the majority of its sound is located.